This video field trip will take you through the Feathercrest Farm's laying houses and processing plant, following the egg from the chicken until it's ready to be placed on the truck to be delivered to your local grocer. Feathercrest presently has 400,000 laying hens and the ability to process over 300,000 eggs each day. The entire egg-producing process is automated so that most eggs are packaged without being touched by human hands. Feathercrest Farms was the first egg company in Texas to market a USDA Fancy Fresh Grade AA carton of eggs. This field trip will be conducted by Delvin Barrett, President and Chief Executive Officer for Feathercrest Companies. Mr. Barrett has been in the egg business for 36 years and in 1989 received the Golden Feather Award from the Texas Poultry Federation for his representation of the poultry industry in Texas. This is the highest award this organization gives its members. Join Mr. Barrett now as he begins your tour of the Feathercrest facilities and answers the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Welcome to Feathercrest Farms. Today we're going to talk about chickens and talk about eggs. That may raise the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Today we will answer that question. The chicken came first. And this is recorded in biblical history in Genesis 1, 19 through 24. So the chicken came first with the Lord, and the chicken comes first in this operation for Feathercrest Farms. The star of this show and the star of this operation is this chicken and all of her sisters, of which there are 50,000 in this particular house. Now, 22 weeks ago, this chicken was a day-old baby chick. This day-old baby chick came to us from our own hatchery in Alabama. When we received this group of baby chicks, they went into a clean environment where they were furnished with adequate heat, which is about 85 to 90 degrees. And at that time, they're given good clean water and good clean feed with one objective in mind, is to grow and to prepare that day-old baby chick to grow into a pullet like you see here today. Now, what all do we do to prepare a baby chick to become a good, productive layer of eggs? Well, first of all, we keep it comfortable. Keep it either warm or keep it cool as the situation and the time of the year may dictate. Secondly, we obviously feed the bird a very well-balanced ration so that the baby chick will grow and develop as to its genetic potential. We also do a great deal of work in protecting the bird, the baby chick, and the pullet from various diseases. For instance, when we get the baby chick at 1 day old, it has already been vaccinated for Marek's disease, which is a viral disease that can kill a great number of baby chicks if they're not protected. We also have treated that bird for fowl pox. Then as we develop the bird through its growing stages, we further protect the bird by vaccinations from Newcastle disease, from infectious bronchitis disease, from infectious MRSA disease, from AE or avian encephalomyelitis. We also protect the bird from MG, which is Mycoplasma galliseptium. So we do everything that we can to feed and to protect the baby chick so that she will grow into a pullet such as this, that we then move into the type house that you're seeing here today. When the pullet is properly developed to about 17 to 18 weeks of age, and we move all of the pullets in that particular group into the laying house, such as you see here today. Now, before moving the pullets to the laying house, we thoroughly clean the laying house and disinfect it so that all of the new pullets are coming into a very clean environment and a very comfortable environment. If you will notice in the house that these pullets are in, we have insulation on the ceiling to protect the birds from the hot summer heat that we have in Texas. In addition to that, the house is equipped with fans on each end of the house, and in the middle of the house we have pads that has water running over the pads. So the principle being the fans create a negative pressure within the house so that all of the air coming in the house then comes through the wet pads and therefore is cooled down and exhausted at the end of the house. On a typical hot summer day in Texas, when the temperature is 100 to 105 degrees, we can keep these birds in a good comfortable environment of approximately 80 to 85 degrees. This little instrument here is called an aerostager. Actually is a simple computer that records for us the outside temperature and the inside temperature, and it also, based on temperature, turns the fans on and off and stages the fans in, like one fan on each end of the house will run, and then two, and then three, and so forth until it gets hot enough all the fans are turned on. And then at a pre-selected temperature, it also causes the water to be turned on to the pads in the center of the house for cooling purposes. These are the pads that we referred to earlier, where we drip water through the pads for cooling purposes. There's 128 feet of pad on each side of this house, and there's a specific reason why there's 128 feet, because that matches up with the number of chickens in the house and the number of fans and the speed of air movement within the house that is desired for this particular situation. In the wintertime, we raise the curtain up and there's no water on the pad, and therefore we just close it up. Purpose being so we can keep the birds warm in the wintertime. This is a little safety device we have that could be particularly helpful in the summertime. This being an environmentally controlled house, if for some reason the electricity went off and the temperature outside was approaching 100 degrees, all of these birds could die within a matter of 15 to 30 minutes. That is the purpose of this little device. If the electricity goes off, it automatically trips this curtain, and the curtain automatically then will fall down and permit fresh air to come in the house, and thus keeping the birds from dying from heat prostration. Now, in addition to the overall environment of the chicken house, again, we attempt to make the bird as comfortable and as happy as we can, because a happy hen lays more eggs. So these birds are fed a very well-balanced and complete ration. It's a ration certainly that is more balanced than most human beings consume on a daily basis. In the feed ration, we have the necessary vitamins, the necessary protein, the necessary fat that the birds need in order to produce an abundant supply of eggs, and with a good shell. They also in the feed have the calcium and phosphorus, and the base of our rations soybean meal for protein and milo for energy, and we can supplement that with animal and vegetable fat to increase the amount of fat that the birds have that can balance their ration. These are the feed tanks for this house. We have 2 tanks, as you can see, and that way we can completely empty one tank and then refill it with fresh feed and keep alternating the tanks. The screening device you see there takes, if we happen to get some foreign matter or something in the feed, it's screened out so that we can remove it from the system. Okay, what we see here is our feed truck delivering feed to one of the laying houses. We do this 2 or 3 times a week because it's very important that we give the birds good fresh feed at all times. And this truck came from our own feed mill where we manufacture and blend all of our own rations. And we have a different ration for each house depending upon the age of the chicken and the percent production and factors such as that. This is the feed conveyor system that brings the feed in from the feed bins outside of the house and distributes it into these little feed boxes that feeds down to each row of chickens. So there are 4 drops that feed each pyramid, and those are done on a tier basis. This particular house is fed, the top tier is fed at one time, and then the middle tier, and then the bottom tier. Our delivery system for this well-balanced ration that we feed these laying hens is accomplished through a continuous feeder, which you see here. This happens to be an auger feeder. There are other type feeders, one being a chain feeder. But we can feed this entire house of 50,000 birds in 15 to 20 minutes. This brings feed that is unseparated, and every bite that the chicken takes is a balanced bite of nutritious feed that promotes health and good egg production from the laying hen. Now, in an effort to satisfy the entire needs of the chicken, we provide the chicken with the same drinking water that all the humans at Feathercrest drink. For instance, this is a filter. The water comes into the house from the same source that all of our water comes from, and that's our own wells. The water is first treated with chlorine, and secondly, the water is filtered through this filter, and then comes into a regulator so that we can reduce the pressure to the birds, and then it flows into a cup, 1 cup per 2 cages, and it's a constant supply of water, good, clean, wholesome water for the laying hens. We also control the light that these birds receive. As you know, in the springtime, all birds and all fowl lay eggs. We have to produce eggs on a year-round basis. So we use artificial light to more or less fool the bird that it's springtime. So when we house a group of pullets in a laying house, we start increasing day length about 15 minutes a week until the full day length that the birds are receiving in the laying house is about 17 hours of total light. This stimulates the pituitary gland in the brain of the bird and causes her to come into production and to sustain production for a period of time. As the bird lays eggs in these cages, the egg rolls out onto a movable 4-inch belt, that moves the eggs from the back of the house to the front of the house, where the 3 levels of production, eggs from the top cages and from the middle cages, are de-escalated down to the level of the bottom row, where they enter onto a rod conveyor and then are transported by means of the rod conveyor to the processing plant that we will see later. As you can see, the eggs are moving to the front of the house on this particular individual row. Now there are 24 individual rows in this house. Now as eggs come off of each individual row and move down this de-escalator, they pass by a counter so that each egg is counted. Therefore, at the end of the day, we have 24 counts of eggs from this particular house. Therefore, we can check the production on each individual row as well as check the overall production of the entire house. These 4 boxes record the counters that record the eggs that come off of the 24 rows in the house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows per pyramid, and there are 4 pyramids, so there are 24 rows. And this is where we record the eggs off of each row, and thus the entire house on a daily basis. The length of time that we keep birds, the productive life is approximately 80 weeks. So these birds start laying at about 18 weeks of age. We start getting eggs, and the first egg that the bird lays is a relatively small egg. As the laying hen ages, as the laying hen gets older, then her egg size starts to increase, and the older the bird gets, the larger the eggs tend to be. Now here again, we can influence that through the type of feed that we feed the bird. That's the reason that we adjust the feed that the chicken gets as the chicken gets older and as her percent production is increasing. The type chicken that we use is bred specifically for laying eggs and not for eating purposes such as a broiler and so forth. These chickens are commonly known as white leghorns, and this particular variety of white leghorn is the DeKalb Delta, which is a relatively new breed or new variety of chicken that has been recently introduced into the U.S. market and is proven to be a very productive and excellent laying hen. I might mention that it takes 24 to 26 hours for a laying hen to completely develop and to lay an egg. Therefore, all the chickens do not lay 1 egg a day. They certainly will not lay more than 1 per day. But the production in this house runs about 90%. In other words, 90 hens of every 100 lay an egg at this stage of production each day. And of course, the eggs that these laying hens lay are infertile eggs because they are infertile because there are no roosters involved in this operation. The only time that in the poultry industry today when roosters are involved is in the hatchery operation, when you have to produce fertile eggs, and from that egg you incubate and produce a day-old baby chick. Now, after we feed and after we water the birds and after we process in the eggs, then we will call your attention to the dropping boards under the top 2 levels of cages where the manure falls and then is scraped into the pit. The manure from the bottom cage falls directly into the pit. Now, after we scrape the manure into the pit, it is then flushed similar to a commode at home where we flood the pit with water, and it washes it down to the other end of the house where it is emptied into a lagoon that then is consumed through bacterial action. This is a gathering point for all of the eggs coming out of all of the houses. We simply bring the eggs to one point, and then we line the eggs through this device here so that the eggs will fit into each place on these rollers as they move towards the egg washing machine. This is simply a continuation of the rollers. At this point here, the eggs are entering into the washer itself, and at this point, the eggs are oriented so that the little end of the egg is pointed all of the little ends are pointed in one direction. The purpose of that being that the air cell is on the large end of the egg, which represents the head of the egg, and the small end represents the feet, so that when the egg goes in the egg carton, we want the little end down and the big end of the egg to the top. As the eggs enter the washer, they're passed under a series of nozzles that are spraying water with a temperature of 100 to 110 degrees. Water has had soap added to it, and then also the eggs pass under a series of brushes, movable brushes, which scrubs the eggs. What we're attempting to do is to get all of the eggs clean as they pass through the washer. At the very end of the wash cycle, there is a final rinse that's applied to the egg, and it's fairly heavily chlorinated, and that gives us some sterile surface on the egg that tends to make the egg more bacteria resistant. And then as the eggs continue to move past the final rinse area, they go into the drying cycle where the water is blown off of the eggs. This is the candling booth where we remove all of the defective eggs. That is, eggs that may have a blood spot inside of the egg, eggs that have a cracked shell, odd-shaped eggs, or stained eggs, anything that is abnormal about the egg. Those eggs are removed at this point in the operation. The idea being that only good quality sound-shelled eggs move beyond this point. The machine that you're seeing at the moment is a MOBA 4000 egg grading machine. That indicates that this machine will grade and handle 50,000 eggs an hour. You'll also notice that in this operation, each egg is handled individually rather than as a group. Each one of these eggs that you see are being carried by a scale. And as the egg moves from the candling booth along this side of the machine, each egg is actually being weighed. So that when the egg reaches a certain point and the weight has been determined, that tells the machine the place that the egg needs to go. In other words, which carton the egg should be placed in, whether it goes in a super jumbo carton, a jumbo, or extra large, large, medium, small carton. The eggs are separated by weight. Now, as the eggs reach this end of the machine, these flashing lights and this panel, the purpose here is that it gives us a count of the various sizes of eggs that we grade either on a house basis or on an hourly basis or a day basis, whatever we want. We can record how many super jumbos, how many jumbos, extra large, large, medium, and small eggs that are being produced or that are being graded on this machine at this point in time. We also, as you no doubt noticed in the candling booth, as the ladies pulled off undesirable eggs, they recorded those in the candling booth, and they are recorded on this part of this panel, so that we can have a complete record at the end of the day as to the number of sizes of eggs that has been processed through this machine on that given day. We can also then compare that to the counters in the production houses, and we have a check and balance as to the number of eggs that were produced and processed on any given day. This machine will separate eggs into 7 different weight classes. Therefore, we have to have material that will accept those different weight classes of eggs. On the machine up near the candling booth are the peewee, is the peewee material, and then the next one is smalls, and then next in order would be the medium, the large, and the extra large. In those 3 particular categories, we have automatic dispensing machines that dispense the carton and the material to receive the eggs, because the vast majority of our eggs, somewhere between 80 and 90% of our eggs, fall into those 3 categories. The other material, the peewee and the small and the jumbo and the super jumbo material, is placed in the racks by hand. As you will notice, we can run the standard 12-egg carton, or we can run the standard 30-egg flat. After the eggs size of the egg is determined by weight, and on this side of the machine is where the egg is deposited into the appropriate material or carton. Again, the machine separates eggs into 7 different weight classes. All of these eggs that are being produced here are either A or AA quality. So whether the eggs are in a filler flat or whether they're in a routine 12-egg carton, they're all very top quality eggs. When we refer to a grade AA or grade A or a grade B egg, we are talking in terms of the size of the air cell and the shadow that the yolk casts in the egg if and when the egg is candled. Grade A, grade AA has absolutely nothing to do with the size or the weight of the egg. It has something to do with the size of the air cell, and it has something to do with the amount of thick albumin or thick white that's within the egg. It has something to do with how the yolk is centered within the egg, and all of this is determined as the eggs are passed over a candling light. But in practical terms, eggs that are extremely fresh, in other words, the eggs that you're seeing today were produced today, all of those eggs are grade AA eggs, except the eggs that have defects on them. If they have a stain or some abnormality about the egg, on an exterior basis, that egg cannot be a grade A or a grade AA egg either. So the grade refers to the interior quality of the egg when you consider the yolk and when you consider the size of the air cell, and it also is considered external qualities such as a dirty egg, a stained egg, a misshapen egg, or anything that about the egg that makes it look undesirable from an external standpoint. We pack a lot of eggs in our own private label carton, and we also do other customers' private label. This particular carton is our Super Hubby carton. In other words, it's grade A jumbo eggs. And by the way, in Texas, there's a Texas egg law where that all eggs that are sold in the supermarket and other places must have a byline that gives information such as who it was packed by, what the Texas license number was of that particular packer, and the address. In this particular case, packed by Texas license number 4052, Feathercrest Farms, Highway 21, Curtin, Texas. What we strive to do is to get a good uniform pack of eggs so that all the eggs look alike, all the eggs are standing on their feet, meaning the little end of the egg is down. That is what we strive for. And in this particular carton, even though it's a foam carton, this carton is recyclable, and it gives information in here about how the carton should be handled and disposed of and so forth. This is a similar carton. This represents the Feathercrest grade A large egg. And I might comment here as we're looking at the various cartons of eggs that they represent different weight classes, which weight classes are set by the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture. Simply meaning this, that this carton of large eggs or any carton of large eggs that you buy should weigh a minimum of 24 ounces per dozen, whereas the extra large carton of eggs should weigh 27 ounces. That is the minimum weight. And the medium egg must weigh at least 21 ounces per dozen. So the various weight classifications have approximately a 3 ounce per dozen minimum weight differential. So when you see eggs priced a different price, such mediums one price and large and extra large a different price, if you wish, you can figure out which is the best buy by knowing the weight classes of the various dozens of eggs. You will notice after the eggs are put in the individual cartons, they are packed. Some are packed in the plastic 15 dozen container. Some are packed in the 15 dozen wire basket containers, and some are packed in the 30 dozen cardboard cases. The reason for this is simply customer satisfaction. You pack the eggs in whatever container that your customer prefers. I mentioned earlier that we pack eggs in the Feathercrest private label carton, and we also pack for customers who have their own private labels. In this particular case, this medium carton is packed for the Sack and Save superstores in Dallas that are owned and operated by the Minyard Food Chain. We have been furnishing eggs to the Minyard Food Company for over 35 years. We have been their exclusive distributor, and the vast majority of our eggs go to this very fine account in Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas. And I may comment, they also have their private label on other sizes, such as their extra large and large eggs, as well as this medium carton. This is another Minyard private label carton. This one happens to be the Minyard grade AA large eggs, packed by Feathercrest. This particular carton is a pulp carton and is made out of wood product and is totally 100% recyclable. As a note of interest, eggs that are produced in this operation on one day can be, and many times are, in the Minyard stores in Dallas-Fort Worth the very next day. Within 24 to 36 hours later, they are available to the housewives in Dallas and Fort Worth. As you can imagine, with all these eggs having to go in particular cartons and with different accounts having different type cartons, it requires quite an area for storage of your inventory of material, all the way from cases to various sizes and types of egg cartons. So it's important that you have an area very close to your machine where you can move cartons and material in and out to the machine as needed. Today we have talked about taking a day-old baby chick and feeding and caring for that baby chick until it becomes a egg-laying pullet that we then move into a clean environment called a laying house, where we control the air for the bird, the temperature within the house for the laying hens, where we control and feed them a very well-balanced ration so that these laying hens can produce an abundance of fine quality grade AA eggs. And after they have done that, that egg is the best quality that it will ever be. From that point on, the egg, even though properly handled, will tend to start deteriorating in quality. So it's very important what we do with the egg from that point forward and how we do it. In our particular operation and many others, what happens is what you have seen. The eggs move to the processing plant where they are washed and cleaned, and the undesirable eggs are removed from the main supply of eggs. Then all of the good eggs, the grade AA eggs, move and are separated by weight and then placed in their respective cartons or material, whether it be in cartons or whether it be in bulk. Then the next step, and a most important step, is for the eggs to be placed in the cooler. And the temperature of that cooler is very important. We now maintain our cooler operation at 45 degrees. And this promotes quality of the egg. It helps the egg maintain quality, and it also ensures that if there happens to be any bacteria or anything on the egg, that it retards and maybe stops the growth of that bacteria. Now, if you do all of that, and you do it well, and you have good people to see that it is done, and the end product then turns out to be an incredible edible egg.